The massive viewing screen in the Galactic Council chambers flickered to life, showing the vast emptiness of space. Ambassador Vel adjusted his blue-scaled hands on the control panel, his large eyes focused on the incoming data streams. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 12 different worlds waited in tense silence. "The human response ship should arrive within the hour," announced Tech Officer Brix, his forearms working across multiple consoles. "Long-range sensors are picking up their vessel now." Vel nodded slowly. 3 months ago, the Council had sent their standard first contact package to Earth, a peaceful invitation to join the galactic community, complete with translation matrices, cultural exchange protocols, and detailed instructions for diplomatic procedures. Every new species received the same welcome package. Most responded with small science vessels or diplomatic shuttles filled with their best ambassadors and scholars. "What class of ship are they sending?" asked Council Leader Nara, her tentacles swaying with curiosity. Brix's yellow eyes widened as he studied his readings. "That cannot be correct," he muttered, running the scan again. "The vessel measures 2 kilometers in length. Mass readings suggest heavy armor plating. I am detecting multiple weapon signatures." An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. Vel's throat sacs inflated with worry. "Perhaps their diplomatic vessels are simply larger than most?" "Sir," Brix continued, his voice growing more concerned, "I am reading 47 distinct weapon systems. Particle cannons, missile arrays, and several energy signatures I cannot identify. This is not a diplomatic vessel. This is a warship." The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. Representatives began speaking rapidly in their native languages, their various forms of communication creating a chaotic symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones. "Silence," Nara commanded, her voice carrying the authority of centuries. "Show us the vessel." The main screen shifted to display the approaching human ship. Even the most experienced council members gasped. The vessel was a study in aggressive engineering. Angular surfaces designed to deflect energy weapons, massive thruster arrays that spoke of incredible speed, and weapon ports that seemed to cover every surface. The ship looked like it had been built for one purpose: war. "By the ancient codes," whispered Ambassador Keth, his insectoid features twitching with fear. "They sent a dreadnought." Vel tried to maintain diplomatic composure, but his hands trembled slightly. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. Surely they would not send a warship in response to a peaceful invitation." "Incoming transmission," Brix announced, his voice barely steady. "Put it through," Nara ordered. The screen changed to show the bridge of the human vessel. The sight that greeted the council was not what they expected from diplomats. A human male sat in the captain's chair, his face bearing multiple scars, his dark eyes cold and calculating. His uniform was military in design, with insignia that suggested high rank and combat experience. "This is Captain Mike Torres of the United Earth ship Retribution," the human said, his voice carrying an edge that made several council members step backward. "We received your invitation." Vel managed to find his voice. "Captain Torres, I am Ambassador Vel of the Galactic Council. We were expecting diplomatic representatives." Torres smiled, and it was not a comforting expression. "You got them." "Sir," Vel continued carefully, "your vessel appears to be a military ship. We sent instructions for peaceful first contact protocols." "We read them," Torres replied. "The Retribution is our diplomatic vessel." Behind Torres, other humans moved about the bridge with practiced efficiency. Even in this brief glimpse, the council members could see that these were not scholars or ambassadors. These were warriors. Their movements spoke of combat training. Their expressions held the hardness of those who had seen battle. "Captain," Nara interjected, "surely you understand that arriving in a warship sends a particular message. We extend peaceful greetings to all new species." Torres leaned forward in his chair. "And we appreciate that. But you should understand something about humans. We don't separate our military from our diplomacy. Every human is trained for conflict, from childhood. Every human understands that peace exists only because someone is willing to fight for it." The council members exchanged worried glances. This was unlike any first contact they had experienced. Our ship carries 47 different weapon systems, Torres continued conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Each one represents a different way we solve problems. We brought them because we believe in being prepared. Prepared for what? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. For whatever comes next, Torres said simply. Your message said you wanted to establish relations with Earth. Well, this is Earth. We don't send diplomats who hide behind words when action is needed. We send diplomats who can act. A new voice came from off-screen on the human bridge. Captain, we have 17 different alien vessel signatures in the area. All appear to be watching us. Acknowledged, Torres replied without taking his eyes off the screen. Council members, I assume those are your ships? Yes, Nara said quickly. Standard security protocols for first contact situations. Torres nodded. Smart. If I were you, I would want to know what I was dealing with too. So let me be clear. The Retribution is here for peaceful negotiations. But we define peace differently than most species, apparently. How do you define it? Valley asked, fascinated despite his fear. Peace is what happens when everyone agrees that fighting would be a bad idea, Torres said. Sometimes that means everyone is friends. Sometimes it means everyone is afraid. Either way works for us. The bridge behind Torres showed increasing activity. Humans moved between stations, checking systems and running diagnostics. Even their routine operations looked like preparations for battle. We will dock with your station in 30 minutes, Torres announced. My diplomatic team will consist of myself, my tactical officer, my chief engineer, and my medical officer. They represent Earth's approach to problem solving. Captain, Vel tried once more. Traditional first contact involves cultural exchanges, scientific discussions, and peaceful negotiations. Torres smiled again, and this time there was something almost predatory in it. Who says we are not prepared for all of that? The difference is, when our cultural exchange includes combat demonstrations, when our scientific discussions cover weapons technology, and when our negotiations are backed by the ability to enforce agreements, well, that tends to make things more efficient. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. What have we invited into our galaxy? Whispered Ambassador Keth. Vel stared at the screen, which now showed the massive human warship growing larger as it approached their station. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had welcomed new species with the same peaceful protocols. Never had anyone responded like this. I believe, Vel said slowly, we are about to find out what happens when diplomacy and warfare are the same thing. Outside the station's windows, the UES Retribution continued its approach, its weapon systems powered down but ready, its crew prepared for whatever form this first contact would take. The age of gentle diplomacy in the galaxy was about to end. The docking bay of Council Station Alpha had never hosted a ship like the UES Retribution. As the massive human vessel connected to the station, the metal walls groaned under the stress of supporting something so heavily armored. Ambassador Vel stood with the other council members, watching the airlock with a mixture of curiosity and dread. Remember, whispered Council Leader Nara, standard diplomatic protocols, peaceful greetings, cultural exchange, and gentle negotiations. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Torres stepped through, followed by 3 other humans. Vel immediately noticed that none of them looked like typical diplomats. Torres wore a military uniform with combat ribbons across his chest. Behind him came a woman with grease-stained hands and sharp eyes, a man whose movements screamed military training, and another woman carrying what appeared to be a medical kit designed for battlefield conditions. Welcome to Council Station Alpha, Vel said, extending his scaled hand in the traditional greeting. I am Ambassador Vel, and these are my fellow council members. Torres shook the offered hand with a grip that was firm but not threatening. Captain Mike Torres. This is Chief Engineer Lisa Park, Commander Jack Riley, and Dr. Anna Webb. They represent Earth's diplomatic corps. Vel tried not to show his confusion. The woman called Lisa Park looked like she could tear apart a starship engine with her bare hands. Commander Riley stood like a soldier at attention, his eyes constantly scanning the room for potential threats. Dr. Webb carried herself with the confidence of someone who had saved lives under fire. "Shall we proceed to the negotiation chamber?" Bell suggested. "Lead the way," Torres replied. As they walked through the station's corridors, other council members joined the group. The Andorian delegation, known for their peaceful nature, seemed particularly nervous around the humans. The insectoid Keth delegation kept their distance, their antennae twitching with anxiety. The negotiation chamber was a marvel of diplomatic architecture, designed to make all species feel comfortable. Soft lighting, flexible seating arrangements, and walls decorated with peaceful artwork from across the galaxy. The humans entered and immediately began assessing the room like a tactical situation. "Nice setup," Commander Riley commented, his eyes noting the exits, the security cameras, and the positions of all the alien delegates. "Good sightlines, multiple escape routes, defensible positions." Ambassador Vell blinked in confusion. "It is designed for peaceful negotiations." "Same thing," Riley replied matter-of-factly. Everyone took their seats around the circular table. Vell activated the translation matrix and began the standard first contact speech. "The Galactic Council welcomes Earth to our community of peaceful worlds. We hope to establish trade relations, share scientific knowledge, and promote mutual understanding." Torres nodded politely. "We appreciate that. But let me explain how Earth approaches these things. We believe in being direct." "Direct is good," agreed Nara, her tentacles relaxing slightly. "Earth's position is simple," Torres continued. "We want peaceful relations with everyone, but peace requires strength. Without strength, peace is just a pause between conflicts." The council members exchanged glances. This was not how diplomatic negotiations usually began. "Perhaps we could discuss trade opportunities," suggested Ambassador Vell, trying to steer the conversation toward safer topics. Chief Engineer Park leaned forward. "What kind of technology are you looking to trade?" "We have advanced medical techniques, agricultural improvements, and clean energy solutions," replied Dr. Zinn of the Healers Guild. Park nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting. We have some energy solutions, too. Our antimatter reactors can power entire continents. Of course, they can also remove entire continents if you set them up wrong." The room fell silent. Dr. Zinn's healing tendrils curled inward defensively. "That was informative," Vell managed. "We believe in multi-purpose technology," Park explained cheerfully. "Why build something that only does one thing when you can build something that does many things? Our fusion drives can propel ships across the galaxy or turn enemy fleets into expanding clouds of plasma. Very efficient." Commander Riley added, "Our medical bay can treat any injury or poison that exists. Dr. Webb here has experience with battlefield surgery, biological warfare treatment, and torture recovery." Dr. Webb smiled pleasantly. "I have saved more lives than I can count. I have also developed 17 different ways to end a life quickly and painlessly, should mercy be required." The alien delegates were beginning to look pale, even those whose species did not normally show color changes. "Perhaps," Vell said desperately, "we could discuss cultural exchange? Art, music, literature?" "Absolutely," Torres said with enthusiasm. "Human culture is fascinating. Our children play war games to develop strategy skills. Our music often celebrates great battles and heroic sacrifices. Our literature is full of stories about overcoming impossible odds through violence and determination. Our sports involve controlled combat," Riley added. "Boxing, martial arts, contact sports where the goal is to physically dominate your opponent. Great for building character." Ambassador Keith's antennae drooped. "Do humans have any peaceful traditions?" Dr. Webb brightened. "Oh yes, we have meditation, which was originally developed to help warriors stay calm during battle. We have cooking, which evolved from the need to prepare food during long military campaigns. And we have music, which was used to coordinate troop movements and boost morale during conflicts. Even our peaceful activities have military origins," Park explained. "It makes them more useful, Nara's tentacles were now wrapped tightly around herself. This is unusual. Most species develop culture separately from warfare. That seems inefficient, Torres replied. Why waste time on activities that do not make you stronger or more capable? Every human tradition serves multiple purposes. Vel tried a different approach. What about your government? How are decisions made on Earth? Democratic process, Torres answered. Every citizen votes on important matters. Of course, citizenship requires military service, so every voter understands the cost of the decisions they make. Everyone serves in the military? Asked Dr. Zinn, clearly horrified. In some capacity, Riley confirmed. Combat roles, support, positions, intelligence work, engineering corps. Everyone contributes to the defense of humanity. It builds unity and ensures that no one makes decisions about war and peace without understanding both. So your entire species is military trained? Fell asked weakly. To some degree, Dr. Webb replied. Even our medical personnel are trained in combat medicine and defensive tactics. Even our scientists understand weapons development and strategic applications of their research. We believe in comprehensive education. The room had grown very quiet. The alien delegates were processing the implications of what they were hearing. Let me understand this correctly, Nara said slowly. Your entire species is trained for warfare. Your technology serves dual military and civilian purposes. Your culture celebrates conflict and strength. Your government is run by military veterans. That is accurate, Torres confirmed. And you consider this diplomatic? Torres smiled that unsettling smile again. We consider this honest. Most species hide their true capabilities during first contact. They pretend to be peaceful while secretly maintaining the ability to fight. We prefer to be upfront about who we are and what we can do. And what exactly can you do? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted the answer. Whatever is necessary, Torres replied simply. We came here hoping for friendship, but we are prepared for any other outcome as well. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. The council members were beginning to understand that humanity had not sent diplomats at all. They had sent something far more dangerous, honest warriors who called themselves diplomats. The negotiations were just beginning, and already everything had changed. The cultural exchange session was held in the station's largest amphitheater, designed to showcase the artistic achievements of different species. Holographic displays showed peaceful scenes from dozens of worlds, flowing sculptures from the Andorians, harmonic crystal formations from the Zephyrians, and gentle light paintings from the ethereal collective. Ambassador Vel stood at the podium, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure despite the morning's unsettling negotiations. Each species will now demonstrate an aspect of their culture. We begin with the peaceful meditation practices of the Andorians. The blue-scaled beings moved onto the stage in flowing robes, their movements graceful and serene. They arranged themselves in a circle and began a synchronized breathing exercise, their throat sacs glowing softly with inner light. The assembled delegates watched in respectful silence as the Andorians demonstrated their 1,000-year-old tradition of harmony and peace. When they finished, gentle applause filled the chamber. Vel smiled with relief. This was how cultural exchange was supposed to work. Beautiful, he announced. Next, we welcome Earth's cultural demonstration. Captain Torres rose from his seat. Thank you. My crew will demonstrate a traditional human cultural activity. The humans moved onto the stage with the same fluid coordination they had shown on their ship, but instead of robes, they wore what appeared to be training uniforms. Instead of arranging themselves for meditation, they spread out in a tactical formation. This is a combat drill, Torres announced to the stunned audience. In human culture, we believe that coordination under pressure reveals the true spirit of a people. What followed was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The four humans moved through a complex sequence that was part dance, part martial arts, and part military exercise. Commander Riley called out scenarios and the others responded instantly. Diving, rolling, covering each other's movements, working as a perfect unit. Contact left. Riley shouted. The humans spun, Dr. Webb dropping to provide covering fire while Chief Engineer Park flanked right and Torres advanced directly. Their movements were so coordinated they seemed to share a single mind. Medical emergency. Officer down. Dr. Webb immediately shifted roles, rushing to Torres, who had dropped and rolled into a casualty position. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, demonstrating field medical techniques while Park and Riley established a defensive perimeter around them. The alien audience watched in fascinated horror. This was not art as they understood it. This was warfare turned into performance. Objective secured, Torres announced, and all 4 humans snapped to attention. The amphitheater was dead silent. This, Torres said calmly, is how humans express unity, trust, and cultural values. Every movement requires absolute faith in your teammates. Every decision affects the survival of the group. It is our oldest art form. Ambassador Vell found his voice. That was combat training. Art and training are not separate for humans, Dr. Webb explained, not even breathing hard despite the intense physical activity. Our culture developed from the need to survive together. Every human learns these coordination exercises as children. Children? Squeaked Dr. Zinn. Human children play games based on military tactics, Park added cheerfully. Hide and seek teaches reconnaissance and concealment. Tag develops pursuit and evasion skills. Sports teach team coordination under pressure. We consider it basic education. Council leader Nara's tentacles were trembling. Do human children not play peaceful games? Torres looked genuinely confused. What would be the point of games that do not teach useful skills? Fun? Suggested Ambassador Keth weakly. Combat training is fun, Riley replied matter-of-factly. Humans enjoy challenges that test their abilities. Competition makes us stronger. Dr. Webb stepped forward. Perhaps we could demonstrate human medical culture? Before anyone could object, she began setting up a field medical station on the stage. Her movements were swift and efficient, but the equipment she unpacked made several delegates step backward. Human medical practices evolved from battlefield conditions, she explained while assembling what looked like a mobile surgery unit. We learned to treat injuries that other species consider fatal. She held up various medical instruments, each one looking more intimidating than the last. This is for removing projectiles from internal organs. This is for treating chemical burns. This is for emergency amputation in the field. Your medical tools look like weapons, observed Dr. Zinn. Many can be used as weapons if necessary, Dr. Webb agreed pleasantly. Scalpels make excellent throwing knives. Bone saws can cut through armor. Medical knowledge includes understanding how bodies fail, which is useful for both healing and harming. The Healers Guild delegation was looking distinctly ill. Chief Engineer Park decided to contribute. Would you like to see human engineering culture? She pulled out a portable device and activated a holographic display showing various human technological achievements. The images were impressive: massive cities, powerful ships, incredible feats of construction. This is the Sol Defense Network, she said proudly. 17,000 orbital weapons platforms protecting our home system. Each one can sterilize a planet's surface or provide clean energy to entire continents, depending on what is needed. The same system provides defense and power, asked Tech Officer Bricks. Efficiency, Park replied. Why build separate systems when one can do both jobs? Our transportation network can move civilians during peacetime or troops during wartime. Our communication satellites can carry entertainment or coordinate military operations. Our manufacturing facilities can produce consumer goods or weapons depending on demand. Everything has dual purposes, Riley added. Human culture does not waste resources on single-function systems. The alien delegates were beginning to understand a disturbing pattern. Human civilization had developed along completely different lines from their own. Where other species separated military and civilian life, humans had integrated them completely. What about human entertainment? Vell asked desperately. Surely your recreational activities are peaceful? Torres smiled. We have many forms of entertainment. Would you like to see examples of human storytelling? He activated his personal display, showing scenes from human movies and literature. The images that followed made several delegates cover their eyes. Epic battles, heroic sacrifices, impossible odds overcome through violence and determination. This is the Battle of Thermopylae. Torres narrated over scenes of ancient warriors fighting against overwhelming numbers. 300 soldiers held off an entire army. It teaches the value of courage and sacrifice. This is the Siege of Stalingrad, he continued, showing images of urban warfare. It demonstrates the importance of never surrendering, no matter how hopeless the situation appears. Do humans have any stories that do not involve warfare? Asked Ambassador Keith. Torres paused thoughtfully. There are love stories, but they usually involve lovers separated by conflict and reunited through struggle. Adventure stories, but the adventures involve overcoming dangerous obstacles. Even our comedies often involve characters fighting against absurd situations. Human entertainment celebrates overcoming adversity, Dr. Webb added. We find stories about peaceful, comfortable lives boring. Challenge and conflict create interesting narratives. The cultural exchange session was supposed to last 2 hours. After 45 minutes, Vel quietly announced an early break. The alien delegates needed time to process what they had learned. As the humans left the stage, their casual conversation drifted back to the stunned audience. That went well, Torres commented. They seemed interested in our medical techniques, Dr. Webb replied. The engineering display was particularly effective, Park added. Standard cultural briefing, Riley concluded, though they seem unusually surprised by basic human civilization. The 4 humans walked away, discussing lunch plans and duty schedules, apparently unaware that they had just shattered every assumption the Galactic Council held about peaceful species. In the amphitheater, the alien delegates sat in shocked silence, finally understanding that they had not invited diplomats to join their peaceful community. They had invited apex predators who considered warfare an art form. The attack came without warning. Ambassador Vel was reviewing the day's cultural exchange reports when the station's emergency alarms began blaring. Red lights flashed throughout Council Station Alpha as automated systems announced the crisis in 12 different languages. All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown hostile vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Vel rushed to the command center, his scaled feet slipping on the polished floors in his haste. The circular chamber was chaos, alien delegates running. Between stations, technicians shouting readings, and Council Leader Nara's tentacles whipping frantically as she tried to coordinate responses. "Report!" Vel demanded as he reached the central console. Tech Officer Brix's forearms worked across multiple displays, his yellow eyes wide with panic. 23 ships approaching at high speed. Configuration matches hegemony assault vessels. They are not responding to communication attempts. The viewing screen showed the approaching fleet, angular, aggressive ships painted in the dark colors of the militant hegemony faction. These were the galaxy's extremists, the ones who believed that strength alone should determine galactic leadership. They had opposed the Council's peaceful expansion for decades. Why are they attacking now? Nara demanded. Unknown, Brix replied. But their weapons are charging. They will be in firing range in 4 minutes. Throughout the command center, alien delegates were abandoning their posts. The Andorians, bred for peace, were already evacuating to their ships. The ethereal collective had simply vanished, as was their way when faced with violence. Even the usually brave Keth delegation was retreating to defensive positions. "Where is our security fleet?" Vel asked desperately. "Scattered across 3 systems on patrol," replied Commander Zex of the station's defense force. "The nearest ships are 6 hours away." The station's defensive systems? Minimal. This is a diplomatic facility, not a fortress. On the screen, the hegemony fleet was spreading into attack formation. Their ships bristled with weapons, their hulls scarred from countless battles. These were not diplomats or traitors. These were conquerors. "Incoming transmission," Brix announced. The screen changed to show a massive alien figure, heavily armored and bearing the ritual scars of the hegemony warrior class. General Krex, one of their most brutal commanders. "Council weaklings," Krex snarled, his voice like grinding metal. "You invite new species into your pathetic alliance of cowards. Today we demonstrate the price of weakness. Surrender the station, and we will kill you quickly." The transmission ended. The hegemony ships continued their approach. 3 minutes to weapons range, Brix reported, his voice cracking with fear. That was when Captain Torres appeared in the command center doorway. He walked calmly to the central console, seemingly unaffected by the chaos around him. Behind him came his 3 crew members, all moving with the same deadly calm. "Interesting situation," Torres observed, studying the tactical display. "Captain." "Torres!" Vel gasped. "You must evacuate immediately. Your ship—" "Is exactly where it needs to be," Torres finished. He activated his communicator. "Retribution. This is the captain. Condition red. Hostile fleet approaching the station." The response came immediately from his ship's bridge. "Understood, Captain. All systems ready. Orders?" Torres looked around, the panicking command center, then at the approaching enemy fleet. "Disable them. Non-lethal takedown. We want prisoners." Vel stared at him in shock. "Captain, there are 23 enemy warships. Your vessel is alone." "Yes," Torres agreed. "Hardly seems fair to them, does it?" On the viewing screen, the UES Retribution was moving away from the station, positioning itself between the diplomatic facility and the attacking fleet. The human ship looked small compared to the hegemony force, but there was something predatory about its movements. 2 minutes to weapons range, Brix announced. "Retribution, you are cleared to engage," Torres said calmly. "Acknowledged. Beginning engagement." What happened next redefined the alien delegates' understanding of space combat. Theory O. Retribution did not wait for the enemy to close range. At maximum distance, it opened fire with weapons the Council had never seen. Beams of coherent energy lashed out across space, striking hegemony ships with pinpoint accuracy. But instead of destroying them, the beams seemed to disable specific systems. "Engine disable on lead vessel," reported Dr. Webb, monitoring her medical scanner somehow repurposed for tactical analysis. "Weapons offline on cruiser formation," added Chief Engineer Park, watching her engineering readouts track enemy ship systems. "Command and control disrupted on flagship," Commander Riley noted, his tactical experience allowing him to read the battle like a book. The human ship moved through space like a predator among prey. It was faster than the hegemony vessels, more maneuverable and infinitely more precise. Every shot hit exactly where intended. Every maneuver put it in the perfect position for the next attack. General Krex's flagship fired its main weapons at the Retribution. Massive energy blasts that should have vaporized any normal ship. The human vessel simply wasn't there when the shots arrived, having moved to a new position with impossible speed. "How are they doing this?" whispered Commander Zex, watching his tactical displays in amazement. "Human ships are built for war," Torres explained casually, as if discussing the weather. "Every system, every component, every design choice focused on one thing: winning fights." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 12 minutes. In that time, the Retribution systematically disabled every ship in the hegemony fleet. Not destroyed, disabled. Engines offline, weapons non-functional, life support minimal but stable, communication systems jammed. 23 enemy warships drifted helplessly in space, completely at the mercy of a single human vessel. "All enemy vessels neutralized," came the report from the Retribution. "0 casualties on either side. Preparing boarding operations." "Boarding operations?" Vel asked weakly. "We want to question them," Torres explained. "Find out who sent them, what their full plans were, whether this was an isolated incident or part of a larger operation." "You are going to interrogate them?" "Of course. Information is a weapon too." On the viewing screen, small craft launched from the Retribution, human boarding shuttles moving toward the disabled hegemony ships. The alien delegates watched in stunned silence as human Marines began boarding the enemy vessels. "Resistance, minimal," reported Commander Riley, monitoring the boarding operations. "Hegemony forces are surrendering without significant fight." "They have never seen anything like this before," Dr. Webb observed, Defeat so complete, so precise, so overwhelming. Their morale is broken. Within an hour, General Krex himself was brought aboard Council Station Alpha in restraints. The massive warrior who had terrorized the galaxy for decades looked small and defeated, as human guards escorted him to the detention center. 23 ships, Vel said to Torres, still processing what he had witnessed. You defeated 23 warships in 12 minutes. We disabled them, Torres corrected. If we had wanted to destroy them, it would have taken about 3 minutes. How is such precision possible? Chief Engineer Park smiled. Human weapons are designed for surgical strikes. We can remove specific systems without damaging others. Very useful when you want prisoners instead of debris. Council Leader Nara's tentacles were wrapped tightly around herself. The hegemony has been a threat to galactic peace for decades. Their ships, their warriors, their weapons, they were considered among the most dangerous in the galaxy. Past tense, Riley noted. They were dangerous to species that fight wars, the way you do. Formations, direct engagement, overwhelming force. Humans fight differently. How do humans fight? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Torres considered the question. We fight to win. Everything else is secondary. Honor, tradition, fair play. Those are luxuries you enjoy after you have already won. The command center had grown quiet. Every alien delegate was staring at the humans, finally understanding what they had welcomed into their peaceful galaxy. The hegemony will not attack this station again, Torres continued. Word of this defeat will spread. Other hostile factions will reconsider their plans. Sometimes the best way to ensure peace is to demonstrate the cost of breaking it. As if to emphasize his point, reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Other militant factions were withdrawing from aggressive positions. Pirates were fleeing to distant systems. Slavers were releasing their captives and seeking amnesty. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Earth's diplomats were more dangerous than anyone's warriors. 6 months after the hegemony incident, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. The same circular room that had once hosted gentle debates about trade agreements and cultural exchanges now served as the command center for galactic security operations. Holographic displays showed patrol routes across dozens of star systems, incident reports from frontier worlds, and status updates from enforcement fleets. Ambassador Vel stood at his usual position, but his role had changed dramatically. Instead of mediating peaceful discussions, he now coordinated with Captain Torres on matters of galactic stability. The transformation still amazed him. The Outer Rim smuggling operations have been completely shut down, reported Tech Officer Brix. His forearms working efficiently across tactical displays that would have been unthinkable in the old diplomatic chambers. Human patrol ships intercepted the last convoy yesterday. Council Leader Nara nodded, her tentacles relaxed in a way they had not been for years. Casualties? None, Brix replied. The smugglers surrendered immediately when they identified human vessels. Standard procedure now. Torres smiled from his position at what had once been the guest diplomatic station and was now the enforcement coordination desk. Word travels fast in criminal circles. Most of them would rather spend time in our detention facilities than risk a fight they cannot win. Your detention facilities? Asked Dr. Zinn curiously. Rehabilitation centers, Dr. Webb corrected from her medical station. We do not believe in permanent imprisonment. Everyone can be reformed if you use the right methods. Human methods? Vel inquired, though he had learned not to be surprised by human approaches anymore. Work, training, education, Commander Riley explained. Former pirates are learning useful skills. Ex-slavers are working on infrastructure projects for the worlds they once raided. Former hegemony officers are teaching us about their old territories so we can better protect them. They cooperate willingly. They prefer cooperation to the alternatives, Torres said simply. Chief Engineer Park looked up from her engineering console, where she had been monitoring the technical aspects of the new galactic security network. The early warning system is now operational in all major systems. Any aggressive fleet movement will be detected within hours instead of days. Response time? Asked Nara. Human ships can reach any threatened system within 12 hours, Park replied. Most situations resolve themselves when our vessels appear on long-range sensors. It was true. The mere presence of human ships had become a powerful deterrent across the galaxy. Pirates fled at the first sign of human patrol craft. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans when human diplomats arrived for discussions. Even ancient territorial disputes were being resolved through negotiation, rather than warfare. The Zephyrian border conflict has been settled, announced Ambassador Keth, his insectoid features showing none of the nervous tension that had characterized him during first contact. Both sides agreed to human arbitration. Terms? Torres asked. Resource sharing agreement, monitored trade zones, and joint security patrols. Both species seemed eager to find a peaceful solution once human mediators explained the alternatives. Vel had observed dozens of these arbitration sessions. Human diplomacy was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Torres and his crew did not threaten or intimidate. They simply presented facts. They would explain in calm detail what had happened to other species that had chosen warfare over negotiation. They would demonstrate, through tactical simulations, how any conflict would likely end. They would offer reasonable terms for peace and then wait for rational beings to make rational choices. Most chose peace. The Council vote on Earth's permanent membership? Nara inquired. Unanimous approval, Vel announced. All member species voted to grant Earth full membership with special enforcement privileges. Special privileges? Torres raised an eyebrow. Right to intervene in conflicts without prior Council approval, Nara explained. The right to establish military bases in neutral systems. The right to pursue criminals across all territorial boundaries. Essentially, we have made Earth responsible for galactic security. Torres considered this. That is a significant responsibility, one that Earth has already been fulfilling, Vel pointed out. We are simply making it official. The truth was that the galaxy had become more peaceful in 6 months than it had been in 60 years. Trade routes that had been plagued by pirates were now safe for civilian traffic. Border disputes that had simmered for decades were being resolved through arbitration. Aggressive species that had threatened their neighbors were now focused on internal development and peaceful cooperation. There have been some cultural changes as well, Dr. Zinn reported from her position monitoring galactic health and social systems. Young beings from many species are requesting to study human methods. Military academies, engineering schools, even medical colleges are adopting human training techniques. They want to learn human approaches? Dr. Webb asked with interest. The practical applications are impressive, Dr. Zinn admitted. Human medical techniques have reduced battlefield casualties by 70%. Human engineering methods have improved ship reliability and weapon effectiveness. Human tactical training has made our security forces far more capable. Riley nodded approvingly. Good. The more species that understand proper defensive techniques, the safer everyone becomes. However, Dr. Zinn continued carefully, there are some concerns about cultural influence. Such as? Torres asked. Young Andorians are learning combat techniques alongside meditation. Ethereal collective members are studying military history. Even the Peaceful Healers Guild is requesting training in battlefield medicine. Problems? Webb inquired. Not problems exactly, Vel interjected, but changes. Species that have been peaceful for centuries are developing martial capabilities. Some council members worry about the long-term implications. Torres stood and walked to the main display, which showed the current status of galactic security. Green indicators marked peaceful systems, blue showed active patrol routes, and yellow indicated areas under human protection. There were no red warning zones anywhere on the map. Let me ask you something, Torres said to the assembled delegates. 6 months ago, how many active conflicts were there in council space? Brix consulted his records. 17 border disputes, 43 piracy incidents per month, 6 slavery operations, and 3 active rebellions. And now, 0 active conflicts. 1 piracy incident in the last 3 months. No active slavery operations, and all rebellions have been resolved through negotiation. Civilian casualties from violence? Down 94%. Trade volume? up 67% due to secure shipping lanes. Immigration between species, up 43% as travel becomes safer. Torres turned back to the council members. Your young people are learning human methods because human methods work, not just for warfare, but for problem solving, crisis response, and building stable societies. But they are becoming more aggressive, Nara observed. They are becoming more capable, Riley corrected. There is a difference. A being who can fight but chooses peace is making a real choice. A being who cannot fight and claims to be peaceful is simply weak. The galaxy is changing, Torres acknowledged, but it is changing for the better. Your species are not losing their peaceful natures. They are gaining the ability to protect those natures. Ambassador Vell looked around the transformed chamber. Aliens who had once debated theoretical policies now coordinated real security operations. Species that had once hidden behind neutrality now actively participated in maintaining galactic peace. Beings who had once feared conflict now had the tools to prevent it. Earth's definition of diplomacy, Vell mused. Everyone sits down and talks, or everyone gets put down permanently. Exactly, Torres agreed. The choice is always there. We just make sure everyone understands both options clearly. Outside the station's windows, human patrol ships moved through space alongside vessels from a dozen other species. The galaxy's new security fleet was diverse, capable, and united in purpose. Peace through strength had become more than a human philosophy. It had become a galactic reality. Any new business? Nara asked, calling the session back to order. The outer spiral colonies have requested human advisors for their defense planning, reported Keth. Approved, Torres said without hesitation. We will send a training team next week. The meeting continued with routine efficiency. Patrol schedules, training programs, diplomatic missions. All the business of a galaxy that had learned to maintain peace through preparedness. The age of gentle diplomacy was over. The age of effective diplomacy had begun. And at the center of it all, the UES Retribution stood ready, its crew of dangerous diplomats ensuring that peace remained the galaxy's preferred option. The morning alarm rang across Kepler Station at exactly 0600 hours, just like it had for the past 3 years. Dr. Elena Torres rolled out of her small bed and looked through the window at the twin suns rising over the rocky planet below. She smiled slightly. Another peaceful day of research ahead. Kepler Station was not much to look at. It was a collection of white metal buildings connected by covered walkways, sitting on a large asteroid in the outer edge of the Kepler system. 53 humans lived here. Scientists, engineers, and their families who had volunteered to come to this remote corner of space to study strange matter that could only be found in this system. Elena was the station commander, though she preferred to think of herself as just another scientist. She had been chosen for this job because she was good at keeping people calm and organized. Running a research station millions of miles from Earth required someone who could handle problems without panicking. "Good morning, Commander," said Dr. Mike Chen as Elena entered the main laboratory. Mike was studying rock samples from the planet below. The morning scans show some interesting formations in Sector 7. Want to take a look? Elena nodded and walked over to the scanner display. On the screen, she could see strange crystal formations that seemed to pulse with their own light. This was why they were here, to understand materials that didn't exist anywhere else in known space. "Beautiful," she said. "Schedule a collection mission for next week." As Elena reviewed the daily reports, she felt proud of what they had built here. The station was completely self-sufficient. They grew their own food, recycled their water, and even had a small school for the 12 children who lived on the station. It was a real community, isolated but happy. The work was important too. The exotic matter they studied here could revolutionize energy production back on Earth. Some of the crystals could store enormous amounts of power in tiny spaces. Others seemed to bend space in ways that could make faster space travel possible. But the best part was the peace. No politics, no wars, no crime. Just 53 humans working together for the good of science and humanity. That peace was about to end. 3 light-years away, Admiral Vex of the Krath Empire studied the scanner reports with interest. His reptilian eyes gleamed as he read about the small human outpost. 53 primitives, he hissed to his second-in-command. No military vessels, no defense systems. They don't even have proper shields. The Krath were part of something called the hegemony. 4 alien species that had joined together to conquer weaker civilizations. They had been expanding across this part of the galaxy for decades, taking what they wanted and enslaving those who could not fight back. Should we demand their surrender first? Asked the second-in-command. Admiral Vex laughed, a sound like grinding. Rocks. Why bother? Humans are new to space travel. Their home planet is too far away to send help. We take the station, use the humans as workers, and claim their research for ourselves. The hegemony had 12 warships in their fleet. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Against a tiny research station with no weapons, it would be like using a hammer to kill an ant. Begin the approach, Vex ordered. We attack at dawn. Back on Kepler Station, Elena was having dinner with her team in the main dining hall. The mood was cheerful as always. Dr. Sarah Kim was telling jokes about her experiments with crystal resonance. Engineer Tom Brady was complaining about a broken water recycler. The children were playing a game of zero-gravity tag in the corner. Commander, called out Dr. Lisa Park from the communications station. I'm getting some strange readings on long-range sensors. Looks like 12 objects moving toward our system. Elena set down her fork. Asteroids? No, ma'am. The signatures look artificial, and they're moving too fast and too organized to be natural objects. The dining hall grew quiet. Elena felt a cold weight in her stomach. In 3 years, they had never seen another ship in this system. Red alert, Elena said calmly. All families to the underground labs. All senior staff to the command center. The next few minutes were controlled chaos. Parents gathered their children and headed for the emergency shelters built deep inside the asteroid. The senior staff rushed to their stations and began scanning space for the approaching objects. 12 ships, reported Dr. Park. Large ones, military configuration. They'll be here in 6 hours. Elena's mind raced. Kepler Station had no weapons, no shields, and no way to run. Their only spacecraft was a small shuttle used for supply runs to the planet below. Can we send a message to Earth? She asked. I'm trying, but something is jamming our long-range communications. We can't get a signal out. Elena felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. 53 lives depending on her decisions. She had to think fast. Tom, how long would it take to evacuate everyone to the planet? The engineer shook his head. The shuttle can only carry 12 people at a time. We'd need at least 5 trips. That's more time than we have. What about the underground labs? They're well hidden and have their own life support. If someone didn't know exactly where to look, they might not find them. Elena made her decision. All non-essential personnel to the underground shelter. Shut down all power except life support. Maybe they'll think the station is abandoned. But even as she gave the orders, Elena knew it was probably hopeless. If these were hostile aliens with military ships, a hidden shelter would only delay the inevitable. Admiral Vex watched Kepler Station grow larger on his main screen. The human outpost looked even more pathetic up close. Just a cluster of small buildings with no defenses at all. They're trying to hide, reported his scanner operator. Power signatures are minimal, but I'm detecting life signs throughout the structure. Good, Vex said. Fire a warning shot across their bow. Let them know resistance is useless. A beam of energy lanced out from the lead Krath ship and struck the empty space near the station. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Honor. Kepler Station. Elena felt the whole structure shake as the energy beam passed nearby. She knew they were out of time. This is Commander Elena Torres of Kepler Station. She broadcast on all frequencies. We are a peaceful research facility. We have no weapons and pose no threat to anyone. The reply came immediately in heavily accented but understandable English. This is Admiral Vex of the Krath Empire. Your facility now belongs to the hegemony. Surrender immediately and you will be treated as valuable workers. Resist and you will all die. Elena looked around the command center at her terrified staff. She thought of the families hiding in the underground labs. She thought of 3 years, of peaceful research about to be destroyed. "We surrender," she said quietly into the microphone. But she also pressed a hidden button that activated the station's emergency beacon, a tiny device that would broadcast their location and status for months, hoping that someday someone would hear it and know what happened to Kepler Station. Admiral Vex smiled as he watched human figures emerge from the station with their hands raised. Another easy victory for the hegemony, another primitive species added to their empire. He had no idea that this small research station would be the beginning of the hegemony's end. 6 months had passed since Kepler Station went silent. In the cold depths of space, Elena Torres crouched in the hidden underground laboratory with only 11 other survivors. The once bright research facility above them was now a prison camp, run by alien masters. Elena's hand shook as she checked the food supplies. 3 weeks left, maybe 4 if they were careful. Of the 53 humans who had lived on Kepler Station, 37 were dead. The rest worked as slaves in the mining operation the aliens had built. "Commander," whispered Dr. Mike Chen. His face was thin and dirty. "The Krath guards changed shift. We might be able to reach the supply depot tonight." Elena nodded. Every few days, they had to risk everything to steal food and medicine from the alien supplies. It was the only way to stay alive, but each raid was more dangerous than the last. Above them, Admiral Vex walked through his new mining complex with pride. The humans had been useful workers, though many had died from the harsh conditions. The exotic crystals they extracted would make him rich and powerful in the hegemony. "The humans are weaker than expected," he told his officers. "But they learn quickly. The survivors will serve us well." What Admiral Vex did not know was that Elena's emergency beacon was still broadcasting, sending its desperate message across the void of space. On Earth, in the command center of the Terran Defense Force, Admiral Jack Stone stared at the star charts with growing anger. 3 months ago, they had received Elena's beacon, a faint signal carrying news of attack and capture. "Sir," said his aide, Captain Lisa Hayes, "the Council is still debating whether to respond." Stone's jaw tightened. "Debating? 53 of our people are dead or enslaved, and they're debating?" The problem was distance. Kepler Station was at the very edge of human space. Earth had only developed faster than light travel 5 years ago, and their ships were still slow, compared to other species. A rescue mission would take months. But Stone had been working on something in secret, something that would change everything. "Captain Hayes," he said quietly, "activate Protocol 7. Hayes's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was humanity's most classified military doctrine. It was simple and terrible. Any attack on human civilians would be met with total war. No mercy, no prisoners, complete destruction of the enemy. "Sir, are you sure? The experimental ship isn't ready for field testing." Stone stood up and walked to the window overlooking the shipyard. There, in the largest construction bay, sat humanity's first true warship, the TDS Retribution. It was black as space itself, covered in weapons and sensors that no human ship had ever carried before. "It'll have to be ready," Stone said. "How long until she can launch?" 2 weeks, sir, but the weapons systems are untested. The quantum drive could tear the ship apart. The stellar siphon array has never been fired at full power." Stone smiled grimly. Other alien species had developed similar technologies over the centuries, but they had rejected them as too dangerous. The quantum drive could open holes in space-time itself, but one mistake would destroy the ship. The stellar siphon could drain energy from a star, but the power levels could overload any normal vessel. Only humans had been crazy enough to build weapons that could kill them as easily as their enemies. "Get me the volunteer list," Stone ordered. Within hours, Stone had more applications than he could count. Every pilot, every gunner, every engineer in the Terran Defense Force wanted to crew the Retribution. They had all heard about Kepler Station. They all wanted revenge. Stone chose Captain Hayes to command the ship. She was young but brilliant, and she had studied every alien species in known space. More importantly, she understood that this mission would be different from anything humans had ever attempted. "Lisa," Stone said as he handed her command codes, "this isn't a rescue mission. By the time you reach Kepler, most of our people will probably be dead. This is a message mission." "What kind of message, sir?" "The kind that makes sure no alien species ever attacks humans again." 2 weeks later, the Retribution launched in complete secrecy. Only a few people in the government knew the ship existed. To the rest of humanity, it was just another research vessel heading to the outer colonies. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge as Earth fell away behind them. Her crew of 200 was the best humanity had to offer, volunteers who knew they might not return from this mission. "Quantum drive status?" she asked. "Ready, Captain," replied Commander Tom Wilson, her chief engineer. "But I have to warn you again, we're pushing technology that's never been tested in combat." "Weapons status?" "Stellar. Siphon array is online. Plasma cannons charged, quantum torpedoes loaded." The weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, looked nervous. "Captain, these weapons could destroy a small moon." Hayes nodded. That was exactly what they needed. The journey to Kepler Station would take 3 months at maximum quantum drive speed. During that time, Hayes drilled her crew relentlessly. They practiced combat maneuvers, weapons targeting, and emergency procedures. Every day brought them closer to a battle that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. Hayes spent her evenings studying intelligence reports about the hegemony. The Krath Empire was known for its cruelty. They enslaved entire species and strip-mined whole star systems. The other 3 species in the hegemony, the insect-like Vorth, the gas-breathing Nem, and the energy beings called Flux, were equally ruthless. But they had never fought humans before. Back on Kepler Station, Elena led another desperate raid on the alien supply depot. Her small team moved through the shadows, avoiding the searchlights and guard patrols. "Medicine first," she whispered to Mike Chen. "Then food. We can't stay long." They had become experts at survival over the past months. Elena had learned to think like a guerrilla fighter, striking quickly and disappearing before the aliens could respond. But she knew they couldn't last much longer. As they gathered supplies, Elena heard something that made her heart stop. 2 Krath guards were talking in their hissing language, but she had learned enough words to understand them. "More ships coming," one guard said. "Big fleet. Admiral Vex wants to expand mining operation." Elena felt despair wash over her. More ships meant more guards, more weapons, more control. Any hope of rescue was fading fast, but as they crept back to their hidden shelter, Elena's improvised scanner picked up something strange. A faint energy signature at the edge of the star system. It was too small to be another hegemony ship, and too advanced to be a natural phenomenon. For the first time in months, Elena allowed herself to hope. Someone was coming. She had no idea that the someone was carrying enough firepower to turn the entire Kepler system into a graveyard. Admiral Vex received reports of the incoming ship with mild interest. His scouts reported a single vessel, medium-sized, approaching at moderate speed. Probably another primitive species looking for resources, he told his officers. When they arrive, destroy them. We don't need complications. Vex had no way of knowing that the approaching ship contained weapons that violated every treaty governing warfare in civilized space. He had no idea that humans had spent the past 6 months perfecting the art of total destruction. The Retribution dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the Kepler system and began scanning for targets. Captain Hayes studied the tactical display with cold eyes. 18 enemy ships, multiple ground installations, hundreds of alien personnel. "Battle stations," she ordered quietly. "Prepare stellar siphon array. Target their command ship first." The time for talking was over. The time for mercy had passed. Humanity had come to Kepler Station and they had brought hell with them. The TDS Retribution moved through space like a shadow of death. Captain Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display show 18 hegemony ships scattered across the Kepler system. Her hands were steady, but her heart burned with cold fury. Stealth systems holding, reported Lieutenant Tom Wilson. They can't see us yet. The Retribution used technology that bent light around the ship, making it invisible to normal sensors. It was another piece of experimental tech that other species thought was too dangerous to use. Humans had built it anyway. Begin deep scan of the system, Hayes ordered. I want to know where every enemy ship is positioned, and find our people. For 6 hours, the Retribution remained hidden at the edge of the system, gathering intelligence. The crew worked in silence, knowing that soon they would unleash weapons that had never been tested in real combat. The scanner results made Hayes sick with anger. The aliens had built a massive mining operation on the asteroid where Kepler Station used to be. What had once been a peaceful research facility was now a slave camp surrounded by defensive towers and guard posts. "Captain," called the scanner operator, "I'm detecting human life signs, weak signals from underground, looks like 12 survivors." Hayes felt a mix of relief and rage. Some of their people were still alive, but 41 humans had died under alien rule. That was 41 too many. What about the enemy positions? 18 ships total. The command vessel is a heavy cruiser in orbit around the main asteroid. 12 standard warships patrol the outer system. 5 support ships handle supply runs. They're spread out. No tight formations. Hayes smiled grimly. The aliens felt safe. They had no idea that death was watching them from the darkness. Deep underground, Elena Torres huddled with her remaining 11 survivors in the hidden laboratory. Food was almost gone. Medicine had run out weeks ago. Dr. Mike Chen was sick, with fever, and 2 others were too weak to move. "Commander," whispered Dr. Lisa Park, monitoring their improvised sensors. "That energy signature is still there. It's been sitting at the system edge for hours." Elena felt a spark of desperate hope. Could it be a rescue ship? I don't know. The signature is unlike anything I've seen before. It's powerful, but it's hiding somehow. Above them, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Krath guards patrolling the facility. Every day, more human prisoners died from exhaustion or alien cruelty. Elena knew their hidden group couldn't survive much longer. "If someone is coming," she said quietly, "we need to help them. Can we tap into the station's old communication system?" Park nodded weakly. "Maybe. But if the aliens detect the signal, they'll find us." Elena looked around at her dying friends. They were going to die anyway. At least this way, their deaths might mean something. "Do it." Captain Hayes was studying attack plans when her communications officer straightened suddenly. "Captain, I'm receiving a weak signal from the surface. It's human. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was tired and desperate, but unmistakably human. "This is Commander Elena Torres, Kepler Station. If anyone can hear this, we have 12 survivors hidden in Underground Lab Section 7. The aliens don't know we're here yet." Hayes grabbed the microphone. "Commander Torres, this is Captain Lisa Hayes of the Terran defense ship Retribution. We're here to get you out." The silence stretched for long seconds. Then Elena's voice came back, filled with disbelief and hope. "TDS Retribution? We don't have warships. How did you—" "We do now," Hayes said grimly. "Stay hidden. We're coming. For you. And we're bringing friends." Hayes cut the connection and turned to her crew. The bridge was completely silent. Everyone had heard the desperation in Elena's voice. Everyone understood what the aliens had done to their people. "All hands, this is the captain," Hayes announced over the ship's communication system. "We have confirmed 12 human survivors on the surface. 41 of our people are dead. The aliens responsible are about to learn why you never attack human civilians." A cheer rose from every section of the ship. The crew had trained for months for this moment. Now it was time to show the galaxy what human anger looked like. Admiral Vex was reviewing mining reports when his scanner operator approached nervously. "Admiral, we detected a brief communication signal from the mining facility. It was in the human language." Vex's reptilian eyes narrowed. "Impossible. All human prisoners are accounted for. Sir, the signal came from deep underground. There may be hidden survivors." Vex hissed in annoyance. He had thought all the humans were dead or enslaved. The idea that some had been hiding under his nose for months made him furious. "Send search teams, find them and kill them. I want no more surprises." But as Vex gave his orders, he had no idea that the biggest surprise of his life was already in the system, watching him through advanced sensors. Hayes watched the alien search teams moving toward Elena's position and made her decision. All stations, prepare for combat. We attack now. Captain, said Commander Wilson from the engineering station, the stellar siphon array is ready, but I have to warn you again, we've never fired it at full power. It could overload our entire ship. What? About the quantum torpedoes? Armed and ready, but each one carries enough explosive power to crack a moon. Hayes looked around her bridge. Her crew was young, but they were the best humanity had to offer. They had volunteered for a mission they might not survive, all for the sake of 12 strangers trapped on a distant asteroid. Open a channel to all enemy ships, she ordered. Channel open, Captain. Hayes spoke in a voice like ice. Attention, hegemony forces. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the Terran Defense Force. You have attacked and murdered human civilians. You have enslaved our people. You have exactly 60 seconds to surrender unconditionally, or we will destroy every ship in this system. The reply came immediately from Admiral Vex, his voice full of arrogant laughter. Foolish human. You have one primitive ship against our entire fleet. Surrender now and we will make your death quick. Hayes smiled coldly. Wrong answer. She turned to her weapons officer. Drop stealth. Target their command ship. Prepare to fire stellar siphon array. The retribution suddenly appeared on every alien sensor in the system, a black ship bristling with weapons unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen. Sir, screamed Vex's scanner operator. It's impossible. That ship's power readings are off. The charts! Admiral Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human ship was smaller than his flagship, but the energy readings coming from it were terrifying. No ship should be able to generate that much power without tearing itself apart. All ships attack formation, he ordered. Destroy the human vessel, but he was already too late. Fire, Hayes said quietly. The stellar siphon array activated, drawing energy directly from the Kepler system's twin suns. For a few seconds, the stars themselves dimmed as their power was channeled into humanity's weapon of revenge. A beam of pure stellar fire lanced across space and struck Admiral Vex's flagship. The alien command ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized, in an instant by the power of 2 stars. One down, Hayes said calmly. 17 to go. The remaining hegemony ships scattered in panic, but there was nowhere to run. The Retribution's quantum drive allowed it to teleport instantly across the battlefield, appearing behind enemy vessels like a nightmare made real. The battle for Kepler Station had begun, and humanity had brought weapons that would make the galaxy tremble. The destruction of Admiral Vex's flagship sent shockwaves through the hegemony fleet. Where moments before there had been a massive command ship, now there was only empty space and glowing debris. Captain Lisa Hayes watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Quantum drive full power. Take us to the next target. The Retribution vanished from its position and reappeared instantly behind a Krath destroyer. The alien crew barely had time to realize what was happening before quantum torpedoes slammed into their ship's hull. The destroyer exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. 2 down, 16 to go, Hayes announced calmly. The remaining hegemony ships scattered in panic, but their conventional engines were no match for the Retribution's quantum drive. The human warship could appear anywhere in the system instantly, strike with devastating force, and vanish before the aliens could return fire. Hayes had studied alien warfare for years. She knew that most species fought with honor codes and rules of engagement. They gave warnings, offered surrender terms, and tried to minimize civilian casualties. Humans were different. When their people were murdered, humans became something else entirely. Captain, called Lieutenant Sarah Park from the weapons station. Next target is a Vorth heavy cruiser, bearing 27 Mark IV. Fire plasma cannons, full spread. 6 beams of superheated plasma erupted from the Retribution's hull, each one carrying enough energy to melt through solid steel like butter. The Vorth ship's shields lasted for exactly 3 seconds before collapsing. The plasma beams cut through the alien vessel like knives through paper. The fourth ship broke apart, its crew screaming across all communication frequencies as their atmosphere vented into space. Hayes felt no pity. She thought of Elena Torres and the other survivors hiding underground, starving and desperate after months of alien cruelty. She thought of the 41 humans who had died as slaves. "Open a channel to all remaining ships," she ordered. When the channel was active, Hayes spoke in a voice that carried across the entire star system. "This is Captain Hayes of the TDS Retribution. Your Admiral Vex thought humans were weak. Your forces murdered our civilians and enslaved our people. Now you will learn what human vengeance looks like." The response came from multiple alien ships. At once, panic-filled voices begging for mercy, demanding explanations, threatening revenge from the greater hegemony. Hayes listened to it all with a smile that would have frightened her own crew. "No mercy," she said simply, and cut the channel. Deep underground on Kepler Station, Elena Torres and her survivors felt the asteroid shake with each explosion above them. Through their improvised sensors, they could see flashes of light as alien ships died one by one. "Commander," whispered Dr. Mike Chen, his fever-broken face filled with amazement. "They're really doing it. They're destroying the entire fleet." Elena watched the sensor readings with tears in her eyes. For months, she had dreamed of rescue, but this wasn't a rescue. This was an execution. The human ship above them was systematically eliminating every alien vessel in the system. "How many ships are left?" she asked Dr. Lisa Park. 14? 13? 12? Park counted as more explosions lit up their sensors. "Commander, I've never seen anything like this. That human ship is using weapons I didn't know existed." Helena thought about the peaceful research station Kepler had once been. She thought about her colleagues who had died, about the children who had been murdered by alien guards. She thought about months of hiding in darkness while their friends suffered above. "Good," she said quietly. "Let them burn." The Retribution continued its deadly work. Hayes had divided the enemy fleet into zones and was clearing them systematically. Her crew worked with professional efficiency, calling out targets and firing solutions while their ship teleported around the battlefield like an angry god. "Nemi, gas ship destroyed, Captain," reported the weapons officer. "Flux energy being containment vessel eliminated. 2 more craft destroyers down." Hayes watched another alien ship explode and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. These were the same species that had attacked defenseless researchers. Now they were learning that humans could be just as ruthless as any predator in the galaxy. "Captain," called Commander Wilson from engineering, "the quantum drive is performing perfectly, but I'm reading massive energy spikes from the remaining enemy ships. They're trying to coordinate an attack." Hayes studied the tactical display. 8 enemy ships were moving into formation, preparing to concentrate their fire on the Retribution when it next appeared. "They're learning," she admitted. "Time to teach them that learning won't save them." She turned to her weapons officer. "Prepare the stellar siphon array for wide beam dispersal. Maximum power." "Captain, that setting has never been tested. We could destroy half the system." "Do it." The stellar siphon array reconfigured itself, drawing power from both of Kepler's twin suns simultaneously. The energy readings on the Retribution's bridge went beyond anything the crew had ever seen. Hayes positioned her ship at the center of the enemy formation and gave the order that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Fire. The stellar siphon discharged in all directions at once, creating a sphere of starfire that expanded outward from the Retribution. The 8 alien ships caught in the blast were instantly vaporized, their matter converted to energy and scattered across space. When the light faded, only empty vacuum remained where the hegemony formation had been. The surviving alien ships, now only 4 in number, immediately began broadcasting surrender messages on all frequencies. Hayes listened to their pleas with the same cold expression she had worn throughout the battle. "No surrender," she said calmly. "You had your chance." The final 4 alien ships tried to flee the system, but the Retribution's quantum drive made escape impossible. Hayes hunted them down one by one, taking her time now that victory was assured. The Last ship was a Krath supply vessel that had been trying to hide behind one of the system's outer planets. Hayes found it easily and positioned the Retribution directly in front of it. "This is the final enemy vessel," she announced to her crew. "Fire at will." Plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and particle beams struck the supply ship simultaneously. The alien vessel came apart like a toy, its hull plates spinning away into space. "All enemy ships destroyed, Captain," reported the tactical officer. Hayes nodded and turned to her communications officer. "Contact the survivors on the surface. Tell them it's safe to come out." But she wasn't finished yet. The hegemony had more than just ships in the Kepler system. "Scan the asteroid mining facility," she ordered. "How many alien personnel are still alive down there?" "Approximately 300, Captain. Mixed species, mostly Krath, with some Vorth and Nem support staff." Hayes thought about the 41 humans who had died as slaves. She thought about Elena Torres and her people, forced to hide underground for months while aliens worked above them. "Prepare orbital bombardment," she said quietly. "Captain," Commander Wilson said carefully. "Those are civilian support staff. Some might be non-combatants." Hayes turned to look at him, and Wilson saw something in her eyes that made him step back. "They enslaved and murdered human civilians," she said in a voice like winter ice. "They chose their side." She opened a channel to the mining facility. "Attention all hegemony personnel on Kepler Station. This is Captain Hayes. You have 10 minutes to evacuate the facility completely. Anyone remaining after that time will be considered a hostile target." The response was immediate chaos as alien voices screamed over each other, begging for more time, demanding safe passage, threatening revenge. Hayes cut the channel and began counting down from 10 minutes. When the time was up, she gave one final order: "Fire." The mining facility that had been built on the ruins of peaceful Kepler Station vanished in a pillar of fire that could be seen from orbit. With it died the last traces of hegemony presence in the system. Captain Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the flames die away on the asteroid below. Around her, her crew worked quietly, already preparing for the next phase of their mission, because Hayes had learned something important from the alien database they had captured. Kepler Station hadn't been the only human target. The hegemony had attacked other human colonies too, and Captain Hayes intended to pay them all a visit. Elena Torres stepped out of the underground laboratory for the first time in 7 months. The surface of Kepler Station was unrecognizable. Where once there had been research buildings and gardens, now there was only twisted metal and ash from the orbital bombardment. But she was free. Captain Lisa Hayes stood waiting near the shuttle landing pad, her black uniform making her look like death itself. Behind her, the TDS Retribution hung in space like a dark promise of vengeance. "Commander Torres," Hayes said with a respectful nod. "I'm sorry we couldn't come sooner." Elena looked around at the destruction, then back at Hayes. "How many of them did you kill?" "All of them," Hayes replied simply. "Every ship, every facility, every alien who participated in the attack on your station." Elena felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Justice had been served, but 41 of her people were still gone forever. "What happens now?" she asked. Hayes's expression grew harder. "Now we make sure this never happens again." As Elena and the other 11 survivors were taken aboard the Retribution, Hayes returned to the bridge. Her crew was already analyzing data recovered from the destroyed alien ships. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Tom Wilson, "we've found references to 3 other human colonies that were attacked by hegemony forces: New Geneva, Harmony Station, and Far Hope." Hayes felt the familiar cold anger building in her chest. "Survivors?" "Unknown. The attacks happened months ago. If there are any humans left alive, they won't last much longer." Hayes made her decision without hesitation. "Set course for New Geneva. Maximum quantum drive." "Captain," Commander Wilson said carefully, "our orders were to rescue the Kepler Station survivors and return to Earth." Hayes turned to face her crew. Every person on the bridge was watching her, waiting to see what she would do. 41 humans died here because we arrived. Too late, she said quietly. How many more are dying right now while we debate orders? How many children are being worked to death in alien mines? She walked to the center of the bridge and activated the ship-wide communication system. This is the captain. We have recovered. Our people from Kepler Station, but we've discovered that other human colonies have been attacked. We're going to find them. We're going to free any survivors, and we're going to make sure the aliens responsible never threaten humans again. A cheer erupted from every section of the ship. The crew of the Retribution had volunteered for a mission of vengeance, and they weren't finished yet. The journey to New Geneva took 2 weeks. When they arrived, they found the same thing they had found at Kepler. A destroyed human colony turned into an alien mining operation. But this time, there were no survivors. Captain Hayes stood in the ruins of what had once been a school and felt something die inside her chest. Small skeletons lay scattered among the debris, children who had been murdered simply because they were human. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from her scanner, "I'm detecting 3 hegemony ships in orbit. Looks like they're preparing to leave." Hayes walked slowly back to the shuttle, her boots crunching on the bones of human children. When she reached the Retribution, she gave her orders in a voice like Arctic wind. No communication, no warning. Kill them all. The 3 alien ships died so quickly they never knew what hit them. The Retribution's weapons had been improved after the battle at Kepler, and now they struck with even more devastating power. Hayes ordered the orbital bombardment of every alien structure on New Geneva. She wanted nothing left that could remind the galaxy that the hegemony had ever been there. Then they moved on to Harmony Station. At Harmony Station, they found 8 human survivors hiding in a crashed ship. The aliens had been using them for medical experiments, trying to understand human biology. Hayes personally led the rescue team. When she saw what had been done to the prisoners, the scars from alien surgeries, the missing limbs, the broken minds, she made a promise that would echo across the galaxy. "Every hegemony world will burn," she told the survivors as they were carried to safety. "Every ship will be destroyed. Every alien who participated in these attacks will die. I swear it on the graves of our people." The hegemony fleet at Harmony Station was larger, 7 ships including a heavy battle cruiser. It didn't matter. The Retribution had been designed to fight entire fleets, and Hayes used every weapon at her disposal. The stellar siphon array drained power from Harmony's sun and turned it into beams of destruction that cut through alien ships, like they were made of paper. Quantum torpedoes opened holes in space-time that swallowed enemy vessels whole. Plasma cannons heated to stellar temperatures melted hulls and vaporized crews. When the battle was over, Hayes didn't bother with orbital bombardment. She used the stellar siphon to superheat the planet's atmosphere, turning the entire world into a furnace that would burn for decades. Far Hope was the last colony on their list. When they arrived, Hayes expected to find the same scene of destruction they had found everywhere else. Instead, they found something different. The human colony was gone, but so was the hegemony mining operation. In its place was a massive alien fortress, a military base protected by 20 warships and orbital defense platforms. "Captain," reported the scanner operator, "I'm reading massive troop concentrations on the surface. This isn't a mining operation. It's a staging area for invasion." Hayes studied the tactical display with growing understanding. The hegemony hadn't just attacked human colonies for resources. They had been preparing for a full-scale war against humanity. Far Hope was meant to be their forward base for attacking Earth itself. "How many ships?" she asked. 23 total, including 2 dreadnoughts I've never seen before." Hayes smiled coldly. The aliens had learned from their defeats at Kepler, New Geneva, and Harmony Station. They had brought bigger guns and stronger ships to fight the human menace. It wouldn't be enough. "All hands battle stations," she announced. "We're going to send the hegemony a message they'll never forget." The battle for Far Hope lasted 6 hours. The aliens fought desperately, knowing this was their last chance to stop the human war machine. Their new dreadnoughts carried weapons that could crack planets, and their defenses had been designed specifically to counter human technology. But Hayes had learned too. The Retribution had been upgraded after each battle, its weapons refined and its armor strengthened. More importantly, the crew had gained something no alien species possessed: experience in total war. When the last alien ship exploded, Hayes gave her final order of the campaign: Stellar Siphon Array, maximum power. Target the planet's core. "Captain," Wilson said quietly, "that will destroy the entire world." "Good," Hayes replied. "I want every species in the galaxy to know what happens when you attack human civilians." The stellar siphon drilled deep into Farhope's planetary core and detonated. The world from within. The explosion could be seen from neighboring star systems, a new star that burned briefly and brightly before fading to darkness. 3 months later, the TDS Retribution returned to Earth. Captain Hayes expected to face a court-martial for exceeding her orders and destroying entire worlds. Instead, she found herself promoted to admiral and given command of humanity's new fleet. News of the Retribution's campaign had spread throughout the galaxy. Every alien species now knew that humans were not the peaceful explorers they had appeared to be. When their civilians were threatened, humans became something far more dangerous than any military force the galaxy had ever seen. Elena Torres, now recovered from her ordeal, was appointed as humanity's first ambassador to the galactic community. Her first speech to the assembled alien nations was broadcast across known space. "For 3 years, we lived peacefully at Kepler Station," she said, standing before representatives of dozens of species. "We wanted nothing more than to advance science and knowledge. We offered friendship to any who would accept it." She paused, looking directly into the cameras that would carry her words to billions of alien worlds. "Then you attacked us. You murdered our families. You enslaved our people. You thought we were weak because we sought peace." Elena's voice grew harder, carrying the authority of a species that had just announced its presence to the galaxy with nuclear fire. "Let this be known throughout all worlds. Humanity seeks peace, but we are prepared for war. Touch our civilians and we will find you. Harm our people and we will erase you from existence. We offered friendship, but we have proven we can be your worst nightmare." She gestured to the view screen behind her, which showed the construction yards where dozens of new human warships were being built, each one based on the design of the TDS Retribution. "We came to the stars seeking knowledge and peaceful coexistence. But we learned that some species mistake kindness for weakness. That mistake cost the hegemony everything they had built over centuries." Elena's final words would be remembered as the moment humanity truly joined the galactic community, not as explorers or diplomats, but as the species that no one dared to attack. "We are human. We protect our own, and we never forget." The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.